You remember that? Let's go to page 29 of your book again. And what's line 14 to line 17 says? We did that this morning, didn't we? An attorney, in fact, is a universal agent. That means that universal agent can go and sell that principal's property and get paid for doing so. And that's called an exempted service because they have a document called a power of attorney. That makes it an exempted service. That's the reason it's called universal agency. General agent, individual, given responsibility by the principal to act on the principal's behalf with respect to business matters only. Go take care of the business, the principal tells the general agent. And in this case also, the general agent can also sign on behalf of the principal and bind the principal contract. A good example of this form of relationship, and most of you in this classroom will be in this type of relationship, you will all be general agents. Sales associates and broker associates are general agents of whom? The broker. You'll be working for your broker. Always will be. If you're going to practice the service of real estate, you'll be working for an employer. Broker or the developer, that makes you a general agent. That makes you, your employer is your principal. And if your employer says jump, you have to say how high, run, how fast. Because you have that F duty for them. What's the F duty called? Fiduciary. You are in a fiduciary relationship with your employer. The employer is the one who empowers you to go out there and perform the service. You can't do it for yourself. You have to do it on behalf of your employer. And who can pay you? Only your employer. Are we clear? That's called general agency. Unless you are a special agent. A special agent is an individual given responsibility by the principal to act on the principal's behalf with respect to one transaction, and one transaction only. And in this form of relationship, the special agent cannot sign on behalf of the principal and bind the principal to a contract. They're only there to facilitate. And the person who is a special agent, and always will be, like some people in the classroom will want to be, they're called active brokers. Active brokers are always special agents. They're there to facilitate. They're not there to sign. They're not there to accept. They're just there to facilitate. That's why they cannot accept offers. What they have to do, the offers, they have to present it. What they have to do with people's money, they have to come for it. That's called special agency. And brokers are always special agents. Sales associates and broker associates are always general agents. And that's the real estate business. Universal agency, general agency, special agency. And this is where the confusion comes in when we deal with the public. Because the public never sees this person, all they see is these people. And our words have consequences because you tell the public, you're my client, don't you? You're my customer. You don't have customers, you don't have clients. All you have is an employer. And who's your employer? Your broker is. The broker is the one who has customers and clients. The broker is the only one who deals with the public. That's why the broker is the only one who can get paid from the public. Just like Warmington and Bennett. Remember Warmington and Bennett? Warmington, they get paid from Bennett. And then Bennett pays Smith. Smith can't get paid directly from Bennett. That's where you only can get paid from your employer, not from the public. That's what agency is all about. So when it comes to agency law, principal or client, and in our business, the principal or client is the party who hires us in a single agency relationship. The party who hires us. Us means whom, class? The broker and also the broker's associates. Because whatever your broker decides to do, you as a general agent also have to do the same thing. So when the person hires, they're hiring the broker who also basically, you have the relationship through your broker. And that makes you what type of agent to your broker's principal? What type of agent are you to your broker's principal?
General agent.
No, it's called a sub-agent. You are a sub-agent of the public. You're not an agent of the public. You are a sub-agent of the public because you get the relationship through your broker. That's called sub-agency. You're under your broker. An agent means you are employed by the public. A sub-agent means you're employed by the broker, who basically is employed by the public. And that's how the relationship filters. From the public to your broker to you. That makes you a sub-agent. And only single agency, you have that relationship because it's fiduciary. The duties owed by the agent to the principal based on mutual trust and confidence. Customers and consumers are someone else with a license who works with. We work with customers, we work with consumers. We don't work for them, we work with them. And the relationship we have is called a transaction broker relationship or a no brokerage relationship. The people that we represent are called customers and consumers. They are not principals or clients. We work with customers, we work with consumers. We don't work for them. We only work for principals or clients. Big difference between the names themselves. So, principal, employer, and client are the same as. The only time a broker has a principal or a client or an employer is when they're in a single agency relationship. That's the legal relationship that the broker has with the public. Your relationship with your broker is also the same. So when it comes to relationships, there are duties that ingrained in law. These are duties that the law insists that you owe to the public, the broker and the broker's agents. Well, you have these three relationships. You have the no brokerage relationship, have the transaction broker relationship, you have the single agency relationship. You go here. This is called these are the three that the broker can establish in the public. Either a no brokerage relationship, where the broker is working with a consumer and the disclosure must be in writing. There is a transaction broker relationship, it's called limited form of representation, where the broker is working with a customer and it's a presumed relationship, no disclosure is required, no written disclosure is required. And we have a full or fiduciary relationship, which is called single agency, and the broker is working for a principal or client, and written disclosure is required. Regardless of the type of relationship the broker and the broker's agents have with the public, these are the three duties is owed to everyone, as experts And as professionals and as licensees, these are the three basic duties we owe to the public. We have to be honest and fair and truthful. We have to account for people's money. And we have to disclose all known facts that affect the value of the residential property the buyers are aware of, regardless of what type of relationship the broker and the broker's agents have with the public. These are the three basic duties we owe to the public. And you can recall the honest and fair duty. It comes from your application process, because we told the department we're honest and fair and truthful. And they believe us because they give us a license. And once you're a licensee, these are the three basic duties. As the relationship gets a little more serious, either we're working with a customer or working for a principal or client, the brokers and the broker's agents have these additional responsibilities to present all offers and counter offers in a timely manner, because the broker is a special agent. They're not there to accept or reject offers. They have to present the offers because the broker is a special agent. They're there to facilitate. And we have to give them more skill, care, and diligence, because we tell them we have a license and we're working fit for their best interest. We're working with or for their best interest. And that's our payment duty, because if you don't give them more skill, if you don't be careful and be diligent in the transaction, they can basically take away our money, because we did not owe them these duties in law. And if you don't basically abide by the legal duties you have, the punitive damages will be serious consequences, as we discussed earlier when I started to read those excerpts. Skill, care, and diligence. Then, as the broker continued to offer a limited form of representation, and the person the broker working with is called a customer, the broker has a duty of limited confidentiality. And limited confidentiality comes in three forms. Let me write these three forms here. The first of the three, the broker cannot discuss price. Price is confidential. Cannot discuss price. Cannot discuss terms and conditions. Whatever those terms and conditions on the offer, can't discuss them. Can't say, well, it'll be different. Can't discuss terms and conditions. This is what it is. And finally, the broker cannot discuss motivation for selling or buying. Motivation for selling or buying, can't discuss that area. Anything else you can discuss. These are the three areas that are confidential. Price, other than what's been offered. Terms and conditions of the offer, what's been offered. Motivation for buying or selling. Those are all the areas that are confidential. Can't discuss those because we are working with consumers. And we have to treat every consumer equally. They're on the same level. You have to get equal treatment. We cannot treat one better than the other because we work with them. When you work with somebody, you have to treat every person you're working with the same level. Are we clear? That's called the transaction broker relationship. Relationship is law. Then as a single agency relationship, which is fiduciary, there is these duties that we can only owe to one person. Full confidentiality. Obedience means you have to obey all legal or arbitrary directions of one's employer, principal. Like we say jump, we say how high. Loyalty means you can be loyal to one person. You can't be loyal to more than one. And full disclosure. And that's the reason when you get married, you cannot go and testify against your spouse. Because whatever your spouse say to you or you say to your spouse, they cannot use it against you. It's called fiduciary. And you only have how many spouses? Legally. Legally. Right? Only one. In some cultures, yeah, you got one on one. Yes, go ahead.
how common is the single agent used? I mean, I worked in an office for like a year. I
Yeah.
never saw one contract with that.
No, your contract has nothing to do with representation. Contract is contract.
But I never saw like any written disclosure saying that they were a single agent. Everyone was transactional.
Yeah. The most presumed relationship is there. But brokers still use this in some occasions, right? They use it, I can tell, I use it, right? Because it suits my purpose. It suits my purpose. It's up to the broker. The broker's one to make a decision, right? So these duties are known as and you can only owe them to one person. That's why you only can work for one employer, working for one client, working for one principal. You can't work for two people. You can work with them, but you can't work for them. Duties. Know that? You can ask all the questions we can ask you concerning this concept. This is what we just did. Single agency. We can't work for two people at the same time, and if we do, it's called dual agency. And in the state of Florida, dual agency is illegal. You can't have fiduciary relationship with two people in the same transaction. It's impossible. It's impossible to be obedient, it's impossible to be loyal, it's impossible to have full disclosure and full confidentiality to two people. That's why dual agency is illegal. That's why bigamy is illegal. These are things because it's based on law. Agency is law, has nothing to do with money. Go ahead.
So if I'm working with a seller and somebody from my group, another agent from the same broker find a buyer and look.
Depends, right? What relationship did you form with the seller when you first come into contact before you start thinking about getting a listing? Relationship comes first, contract comes after. So what relationship did you establish with the seller? Right? That has to come first. So if you establish a single agency relationship with the seller, that means everyone in your broker's office has the same relationship with that seller. Because what you did through your actions, you basically have put your broker into a single agency relationship, right? Because you work for your broker. And your words and your actions have consequences. So your broker automatically, by your actions, is in a single agency relationship with the seller. That means everyone in the broker's office, those 500 people or 1,000 people or whatever the broker have the same relationship. So if one of those persons have a buyer, right?
They can transition.
Yeah, they can transition. They have to know when to transition, right? And that's where the hiccup comes in. That's why you have to be careful. Going back here. This is presumed, but your words have consequences. So if this is presumed, and you call me your client, what's my perception? That you're working? Exactly. It's not how you feel, it's how I feel. Right? You know what you're doing. I have no clue what you're doing. Right? So my perception is you're working for me. And if I find out you're working for me and your broker is working for somebody else in the same transaction, guess what? It's called dual agency by surprise. It's called the oops factor. Oops, we just broke the law. Right? So that's why, as I read this excerpt, your words and actions have consequences. We have to make them understand. I'm not working for you. I'm working with you. And that's what you don't tell people. The agents out there have no clue sometimes what they're doing. They just jump to the second part of the transaction. Here's a document, contract. Not talking about disclosure. Just like when the cop stops the person for, a violation of law, what's the first thing the cop has to do? Read your Miranda rights. Why? Because you need to know your rights. You need to tell you that anything you say or do can be used against you. The same thing here. We have to tell them. And if you don't tell them, then we are at fault. That's why they can basically go and sue us. Because we didn't explain to them properly what we're doing. Because the law says we are E-word. What are we? We're experts. They don't know, right? Their perception is we're working for them. You have to tell them, hey, I'm not working for you. I'm working with you. If you want me to work for you, let's change the relationship. Question. A licensee with full representation to both parties in the same transaction is referred to as? Full representation is dual agency. It didn't say if it's illegal or illegal or not. Question says, are you representing both parties in the same transaction? It's called dual agency, which in the state of Florida is illegal. Question. Brokerage principles of identification. Broker receives an offer of $75,000 for his principal's property. Before the principal returns, the broker receives a second offer, $72,000. What should the broker do? You have to submit both offers. In the event the broker is in a single agency relationship with both parties, broker has a single agency relationship with the seller, trying to sell the seller's house. In a single agency relationship with a buyer, trying to find a buyer a home. That's two separate transactions altogether. And the broker wants to introduce the buyer to the seller because the buyer may like the seller's home. The broker cannot do that under those circumstances. So therefore, the broker can change the relationship. And this is the only form that needs a signature. It's called a consent to transition to a transaction broker relationship. Keyword, consent. That means the broker has to seek consent of both parties. Go to the seller, can I get your consent to change because I have a buyer who's interested in buying your house. But I'm working for them. I can't work for them and work for you at the same time. I want to change the relationship to work with you to facilitate this transaction. Here's the document. You go to the buyer, the same thing. I'm working for the seller and you may like the seller's house. So before I show you the home that you may like, could you sign this document, please? I'm not working for you anymore. I'm working with you. Now I can go and work with both of them. And that's called a consent form. And that's what we do. Call it consent to transition to a transaction broker relationship.
That's the reason why most agencies don't want single.
Exactly.
Stick to this and they don't have to worry about it.
They don't worry about the form, yes. But they have to be careful they don't address them as clients. And that seems to be a common word they use. And they don't know the word client means you're working for them. Which basically I can use that against you. You told me you're working for me, could you call me a client? And I found out you're working for that person over there also. That makes it dual agency. So basically you commit an illegal act. So the transaction closes, can you get paid? No, because it was illegal. This is the only form that requires a signature. Question, which of the following documents requires a signature? Transition form, the only document, because they know that they give us the consent, the prior written consent. And here's the document we keep in the file. And when we put it in that file, along with the other documents, how long, brokers, we have to keep that file? 5 years. That's the reason we keep those files for 5 years, just in case. Question, if an oral offer is made to a broker on a property the broker has listed, what should the broker do? Submit the offer. Broker, while looking for a deal for his best friend, gets the listing. Seller must sell because of a family emergency. What should the broker say to his best friend? Very good. Say nothing. Because if you say something, what are you violating? You violated the agency and the duty of? Duty of? duty of
Confidentiality.
limited confidentiality or confidentiality. Can I discuss price? Only agent for buying or selling. Brokers aware of a construction lien on a piece of property. What should the broker do?
To the buyer.
Tell the buyer before closing. Yes, answer. Broker takes the listing on a condominium. Seller notifies broker that the roof leaks. Broker negotiates the sale of the condo without disclosing the leak. A year later, buyer sells the condo for a profit. Which of the following applies? Violation of law. It's fraud. That means the broker has some serious issues with their license or concealment.
But it didn't, in that question, it didn't state the agency.
Doesn't really matter.
Oh, you know what,
One more time. Yep, there you go. Now you remember. Regardless of what relationship you have to disclose all known facts. Then we have a designated agent relationship. Designated agent relationship is when the broker now designates one associate in the broker's organization to represent the seller as a single agent, and a different associate in the broker's organization to represent the buyer as a single agent. It's not dual agency. So what the broker is saying, I'm giving up my legal responsibilities to my agents. I'm not in the legal relationship anymore. I'm in a contractual relationship because I still have to get the money. So my legal responsibilities are vested with two separate agents in my organization. They have single agency, it's fiduciary, and it's individual. So the seller, the agent, is one of the associates. The buyer's agent is the other associate. The broker is not the one doing the representation. So the broker cannot interact with buyer or seller. That's what's called a designated associate relationship. For this type of relationship to form, it must be a non-residential transaction. That means it must be over 4 units, or land zoned for more than 4 units, or agricultural property of more than 10 acres. Then they must sign a form requesting this type of relationship, buyer and seller, and they must sign a form that they each have assets in excess of $1 million. Then the broker can form this relationship with the appropriate parties. The broker says, I'm going to give up my legal responsibilities to the appropriate agents in my organization, deal with them directly, you're not dealing through me. They go and they do something wrong, you can sue them. You can't sue me because I'm not legally representing you. I'm still responsible for the transaction, but I'm not responsible for the legal duties. They're the ones because they have the relationship with you. And it's called fiduciary, but it's with the agent, not with the broker. That's called a designated agent relationship. Compensation is based on performance. This is the compensation part. So compensation is a matter of contract. Who's going to pay you? The broker. Because you have some agreement with the person who's going to compensate the broker for his or her services. It could be implied, it could be oral, it could be in writing, but it's the broker's responsibility to make sure he or she gets paid. So what document you're going to go and try to sue to get payment? Well, it's easy to sue on a written agreement. It's very difficult to sue on an oral or implied agreement. That's why we as brokers, we most likely get our agreement in writing. Our agreement for compensation, we get it in writing. Why? To avoid any misunderstanding. It's not law, it's just business. And business basically is how we get paid. We do our business right, we get paid. Relationship is a matter of law. Those duties we just discussed, those are legal duties. We violate those, we go to jail. And we don't get paid. And we lose our license. And that's basically, if you don't perform the service properly, contractually, the worst we can do is not get paid. Or we can get sued. But not performing our duties properly, then those 3 violations kick in. Go to jail, lose your money, and lose a license. So who owes money is a matter of contract. Don't combine these, they are two separate issues. We are employed to find a purchaser, ready, willing, and able buyer. That's what we do in the state of Florida. Once we find a ready, willing, and able buyer, we're entitled to get paid. That's when we earn our compensation. Closing is a formality between buyer and seller. Has nothing to do with us as brokers. Here's the buyer, go and get the work done. I'll find him, tell me to go out and find him. Here he is. Now where's my money? Okay, you have to wait until we close. But you due, my money is due when I find the buyer. Closing is when I get paid. Are we clear? To find a purchaser, that's when the broker earned their compensation. No compensation from both sides without the written consent of both parties. Can we get paid by both parties? Yes, providing both parties agree to do so. Commissions are not set, they're negotiable. There's a federal law called the Sherman-Clayton Antitrust Law, where price fixing is illegal. So brokers cannot get together and fix their fee for service. It's called an antitrust violation, and it's very serious, and it has serious consequences both personally and also license-wise and monetary-wise. So an antitrust act, breaking the law, it has serious consequences. So compensation is not fixed, it's negotiable. And violation of price fixing is an antitrust violation. So when it comes to referral fees, there are 4 scenarios that you'll be familiar with. And the first of the 4 scenarios, a Florida broker can pay an out-of-state broker for referring customers to the Florida broker. So an out-of-state broker can send the customer to the Florida broker, and when the Florida broker performs any service or real estate on behalf of that out-of-state customer, the Florida broker can take part of their compensation and send it to that out-of-state broker. That's legal, providing the out-of-state broker has a license in the state they're practicing real estate in. The out-of-state broker can bring the customer to the state of Florida, introduce their customers to the Florida broker, not participate in the transaction. That broker can also get paid. Not participating means they're not present when the property is shown, when any form of real estate services are performed, they're not there, they can still get paid. That's legal. An out-of-state broker bringing the customer to the state of Florida, introduce the customer to the Florida broker, and participates in the transaction, is illegal. Cannot get paid. Violated the law, no compensation can be paid. So we tell brokers from out of state, leave your customers, go and enjoy your stay in the state of Florida. You do whatever you have to do, let me take care of the customer, I'll still pay you. If you want to participate, guess what? No money. So what you want? Money for not participating, or no money for participating? A very easy decision. So those are the 3 scenarios when it comes to an out-of-state broker. The other 2 scenarios is an attorney practicing law in certain states are recognized as brokers. And if that attorney is recognized as a broker in the state they're practicing law, they're also entitled to the same requirements of a referral fee when they refer customers to the Florida broker. But the question must tell you that the attorney is recognized as a broker. Not all states recognize attorneys as brokers. So the question must tell you that. Then the attorney is entitled to get paid. The final scenario is brokers can compensate or rebate their compensation or the commission to parties to the transaction. That's the only time we can pay an unlicensed person, provided they are parties to the transaction. I can rebate my compensation to the seller, or I can rebate my compensation to the buyer. That's legal, provided it is disclosed. Keywords, it has to be disclosed to the other party. So if I'm rebating my commission back to the seller, I have to tell the buyer about it. If I'm doing it to the buyer, I have to tell the seller about it. So that is when it becomes legal. So the only time we can compensate an unlicensed person by giving them something of value, part of our commission, or something of value, is when they are parties to the transaction, either the buyer or the seller, not the third party outside the transaction. Can I compensate a third party outside the transaction unless you're licensed? So these are the scenarios that they will post you an exam. Now let's go to the back of the book and let's look at some questions that pertains to this chapter. Question 219. Question 219 says, seller listed property at a price that the broker knew was below market value. Broker had his wife buy the property in her maiden name and subsequently resold the property at a profit. What could the broker be charged with? Concealment of fraud. That's very serious. 224. An Illinois corporation is transferring its employees to Florida. The firm retained a Florida broker to find homes for its employees. The attorney representing the Illinois corporation notifies the Florida broker that the state of Illinois, an attorney is recognized as a real estate broker. Therefore, the attorney wants a referral fee. What should the Illinois attorney do? Yes, expect a referral fee, because the question says they're recognized as brokers. Therefore, they have the same requirements as a normal broker does. Question 312. Question 312 says, Florida has established 3 authorized brokerage relationships. Unless otherwise established by agreement, what is the broker's relationship with the public? Yes, the broker is always a transaction broker relationship. It's presumed. 328. Question 328. Under specific circumstances, real estate law allows the broker to appoint one associate to represent the seller and another to represent the buyer. What term is used for a sales associate who meets all the qualifications of these circumstances?
Designated.
Or that designated sales associate relationship. 329. In order for a broker to appoint designated sales associates to represent buyer and seller, all of the following conditions must be met except. Yes, residential sales, that's the except. It has to be a non-residential sale transaction. Then this relationship can be formed. 332. 332 says, all of the following activities would be considered fraudulent except. 332. All the following activities would be considered fraudulent except. Yes, A is not fraudulent. They have the permission to split the compensation. Once you get permission, it's okay. The rest are fraudulent. Can't do B, C, or D. Question 488. Question 488. Ernie is a licensed broker in Chicago who had a customer for condominium in Tampa. Ernie accompanies the customer to Tampa and introduced him to broker Dora, licensed for the broker. Ernie went to the beach while Dora showed the customer condominiums and was successful in obtaining a contract. Ernie returned to Dora's office a short time later and demanded a share of the commission, which is correct. Yeah. Dora may share the commission with Ernie. He did the best thing, go to the beach.